Growing up, we played a lot of sports. Sports was definitely the thing we did the most, and we had an enclosed area, like I said. So we played street hockey, football, basketball, any sport, you name it, we played it as kids. And it was a very safe environment, so we were always running around playing without a lot of supervision, which was always nice.
Well, it was primarily when I was preteen, I would go with my dad or my uncle or my older brother. And the ballpark in the south end of Hartford, Morgan G. Bulkley Stadium, was a state-of-the-art ballpark in those days.
And I was the only child of color in the school. And it wasn't until I was in high school that another Native family moved in.
I'll tell you one story. So we always used to fight all the time, you know, like we always have playful fights, but sometimes they got a little bit more aggressive. And one time my brother was pinned against a dresser in his door so we couldn't get in. So, you know, he had leverage like this. And so we would take a poker and like kind of poke the bottom of the door. So they would get up and, you know, and be like, I'm getting poked. But one time my brother was looking for the poker and we're going in with the poker and they cut his eye right here and we almost poked his eye out. My mom was gonna kill us. And so, I mean, that was just like one story out of 20, 25 stories of, you know, the close encounters we had as kids.
Every Saturday night there was a dance at the Y. And I think it started at like about 7 o'clock, but you had to make sure you had that last dance at like 10 of 10 because the last bus left for South Meriden at 10 o'clock.
So most of the people my age would go to the mall, just walk around because at that time you don't really have money to be shopping for stuff, so window shopping or, you know, going to the movies.
I was working construction for Dad, and installing insulation in the house, and this is like the funniest story, stupid thing I did. And I was getting itchy, and I had my sweater and everything, and I turned it inside out to stop being itchy. That was a kind of a dumbass thing to do because now I put all the insulation on my skin. But so they like to laugh about that one. But I've done quite a few stupid things. Oh yeah.
As a kid, I was definitely a daddy's girl. Like I would love spending time with my dad. I would love going everywhere with him. Whenever I would go over his house on the weekends, we would be up late watching movies. He's a night owl. I'm a night owl. We would love doing that together. He was really interested. When I got into sports, he was, you know, Dad's, yes, she's into sports. Let's do it. Let's go to the sports store, get you this, get you that. He made his own shirt with my face on it. And I was like, okay, Dad, you know, that's cool.
So growing up, my parents they were definitely fun because my mom was a fun one. She took us to the beach. She gave us karate lessons. You know, she took us to the library. So she was really fun, active. But my dad, we weren't really that close when we were younger because he came here when I was like born, you know? He was also settling in the American lifestyle and he wasn't as on the survival mode as he was when he first came here. So like in the most early stages of my life, they were both in survival mode. Then after they started relaxing and having a more stable life, like I started to connect with their personality more. So yeah.
He would always bring me to his bring your child to work day. I thought his job was so cool. He made spacesuits and he taught me about science when I was very young, got me interested in the sciences and wanted to be an astronaut.
I would say my dad. He's probably the biggest. He was always there for me from day one. Sacrificed a lot to give me opportunities and experiences he never had because growing up, he lost his dad at a very early age. My grandfather passed away of a heart attack when my dad, I think, was 7 or 8. But even those 8 years that my father had my grandfather around, he wasn't really in the picture at all, wasn't there much. It was really my dad and my grandmother. So my father always said that when he had a family of his own, he wanted to be there to support me and my sister and older brother give us opportunities and experiences he never had. So he really just gave me a lot. I mean, worked very hard to get to where he was, to give me, you know, a good lifestyle, a good upbringing. So yeah, left a big impact on me. Showed what it meant to be a father and also a, you know, husband as well one day, because he was great to my mother as well.
It started with a couple of guys. My dad was not among them the first year they did it, but a couple of my dad's buddies from growing up from high school, one year decided that what they were going to do on New Year's Eve was hike a mountain and toast the last sunset of the old year. And they liked it so much that the next year a few more did it, and then a few more did it, and then it just kept going. It snowballed into this big thing, and now everyone who knows my family knows that that's where we'll be.
Special traditions, I would say my grandfather, my mother's father, was very well known in town, and he passed away a little young. He was in his mid-late 60s in 1988. And after that, my whole family, especially on my mother's side, on Christmas Eve would come to our house. So we would have 30 to 35 people on Christmas Eve. That was a big tradition growing up. So I was born in 81, so from 89, so I was 8 years old until I was in high school, that was a big, big tradition. A lot of people would come over on Christmas Eve, and then we'd go to midnight mass afterwards. I'm a Catholic, very Catholic community. That was a big tradition.
So then I had long hair at the time, believe it or not, and someone told me I had a widow's peak. And there was a movie star at the time whose name I've long forgotten who had a widow's peak. And so I'd pull my hair back to show off my widow's peak. And then I'd have little ribbons made from my skirts. I am very short now. I was very short then, so someone always had to cut a bottom off of whatever skirt I had. And of course, we wore skirts. So a little band of the fabric from the skirt would then go to tie, so you could see my widow's peak, and in the middle of it all were these bright turquoise blue glasses. I thought they were neat.
I remember a moment when, because I was this short, skinny, curly-haired thing, very shy, and it was also the time when the glasses came in, and it was not an attractive period for me. And I remember a bunch of senior boys making fun of me. And it was the first time I had heard people kind of make fun of me. It was the first time I hadn't been kind of protected and closeted.
Yeah, I definitely bought into the late 90s kind of grunge kind of thing. I really like that. You know, Tony Hawk was definitely a big influence on how I used to dress. Big cargo shorts, you know, kind of ripped up t-shirts and stuff like that. But yeah, that was kind of my style when I was younger.
It was a different era. And you look back and you reminisce and you think about, but boys were dying in France, in Germany. So we had it good here, in spite of the fact that gas was rationed, tires were rationed, butter was rationed, meat was rationed.
There was so much going on during that time period. And in my neighborhood, you got to think about, you know, there's John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. These are people who were really loved and respected in the black neighborhood. And it was just like, they're going to kill off all the leaders who care anything about us, was the attitude. So people were afraid to step up and be leaders because they knew assassination was right around the corner. If they can kill the president, you know what they can do to you.
The day that the Connecticut Supreme Court ruled in favor of marriage equality, and I remember I just recently came out, like a few weeks before that, and was standing out there. We had guys going around at UConn grabbing everybody, bringing them on a bus, and pulling them up to the Capitol saying we need to have a rally, we need to show our support, and just remembering, and that's what kind of got me all into state politics, was that experience there.
Obama getting elected, that's a big one. That's one of those things I'll never forget. I was in high school, and he was the first president I got to vote for, so it was a big deal to me.